This is your FastCast for Sunday, October 22nd. Your top story today.
Left, face.
Alaska Native and American Indian leaders are gathering stories and experiences firsthand from the survivors, descendants, and ancestors who felt the pain and atrocities of the boarding school system in America. There was a crowd of nearly 100 people at the Native Heritage Center in Anchorage Sunday morning as part of the Road to Healing tour. Secretary Deb Haaland and Assistant Secretary of Indian Affairs Brian Newland of the U.S. Department of the Interior are continuing to investigate the damages caused by boarding schools. They are hearing accounts from survivors as well as those who are related to people who suffered from those boarding schools. This was the 10th stop on the Road to Healing, which is a year-long tour across the country. For Alaska Natives, it was a rare opportunity to inform leaders in the federal government face-to-face on the intergenerational trauma Indigenous people were subjected to. It was an incredibly emotional event as various survivors described physical, sexual, and verbal abuse they either endured or witnessed, including accounts of seeing children disappear in the boarding school system. Secretary Deb Haaland says her ancestors also endured the horrors of Indian boarding schools, but she is now determined to use her policies for the good of the people. Federal records don't paint a full picture of the history, so they are using these personal accounts and lived experiences to bring that history justice. On Sunday night, we'll bring you some of the stories from those who survived these experiences that we're talking about.
A shame of ourselves.
Deeply ingrained in so many of us is the trauma that these policies and these places have inflicted. My ancestors and many of yours endured the horrors of the Indian boarding school assimilation policies carried out by the department that I now lead.
We know that whether it was by boat or train or airplane, that Alaska Native children were taken from their families and their homelands to lands and schools far away to be placed in these assimilationist boarding schools.
There's a hand-carved healing totem pole its creators say is the first of its kind in Alaska in honor of boarding school survivors, their descendants, and ancestors who never returned home. We are covering the raising of that totem, and we'll have the complete story Sunday night
right here.
On the news at 10.
Will be held in her hands right here.
And it's been just more than 2 weeks since Hamas launched an attack against Israel.
Good evening, and things changing on both ends of Gaza. Let's start with the north end, where we know at least one IDF soldier is dead, at least 3 others injured during a raid near the border there. And we continue to hear about activity around the border fence with Gaza there. The troops have realigned a bit. They've moved some equipment, and airstrikes have intensified. And for the first time in a long time, you've got IDF leaders saying that they are preparing for ground maneuvers there. It's something that's been talked about for days. We continue to watch as that continues to slowly unfold. On the other end, at the Rafah border with Egypt, we have seen more aid moving through and into the area. Food, water, medicine, things that are desperately needed across the region. There was talk that fuel may be moving in. IDF spokesman says that that's not the case, that they are just realigning fuel that was already in country, and they continue to say that fuel will not be allowed to cross and into Gaza for some of the hospitals there that are in desperate need of something to keep them running.
This has been your FastCast for Sunday, October 22nd. Thank you so much for watching.